3 years, I've longed for the hockey stick.
I know you have. That's more than a hockey stick. That's a couple of fucking great mountains, excuse my French, isn't it?
Don't make me have to beep you.
No, okay. I didn't actually say it. I didn't say it.
Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money, and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty, and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
Morning, Top Bird.
Morning, how are you?
All right, how are you?
Oh, stonking week, Judith, stonking.
Oh, good. Go, tell me.
Well, they've bulldozed the beach, which means it's officially summer here now.
We have bulldozed the beach.
They have two little streams that run down off the mountains, and it feeds. They've got three sort of buried springs in the bay, which means that, there's cold water coming into the bay all the time. But the two little streams, as soon as they dry up, and they've been dry for a week now, they bring the bulldozers in and they bulldoze the beach to make it all nice and smooth. And that's like officially the first day of summer out here.
Okay.
And what else has happened? My landlord just popped his head around the door and said, "Do I want super fast broadband?" Yes, please, is the answer to that.
Do bears shit in the woods? No, so they go to a little porter cabin marked bears. Yes. Super fast, bring it on.
For just an extra £18 a month, which is still €50 a month, which is still much cheaper than it was in the UK.
All I want is broadband that goes faster than my brain. That's all I want.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? I'd like broadband that uploads video in less than 3 hours, 19 minutes. Which is what I've got at the moment. You have to organise yourself quite dramatically.
Indeed.
What else has happened? It's been really, really, really warm. It's been in the high 20s all last week, which means everyone's, wearing T-shirts and going about, the people swimming, not me yet. But it's been lovely. It's been thoroughly summery. I've had lots of amazing new clients sign up. My 30-day challenge converted very well indeed. I'm very pleased with it.
Oh, good.
Because it really did, how can you demonstrate your value? Do you remember we were talking about that a couple of weeks ago?
I do, yes.
And it seems like that is a good way for me to demonstrate what being coached by me is like. And,
great.
3 people signed up from that, and 1 person upgraded from a monthly to an annual membership.
It's interesting because in that conversation about demonstrating value, towards the end, you started to quiz me quite closely about giving away an hour. Well, you gave away a month as a way of attracting clients here, which is uncharacteristically abundant for you. But so what I'm saying is, each of us, you, me, and the listener, has to work out what we're prepared to give away to demonstrate our value.
To be honest, in retrospect, it could have been 14 days. Because
yes.
The actual action steps only covered 14 days, and then it was rinse and repeat for 2 weeks. But what giving that extra 2 weeks did was it gave people to catch, enough time to catch.
Well, quite. It beds it in. Yeah. You don't want to abandon them after you've given them the info. You want to make sure they're there to implement the info.
Exactly. And they all formed a nice little community. And I think that made a difference too, because the thought of being left out when they, some of them knew that others were already in and some were joining, that to carry on, they wanted to carry on their community inside the membership.
Yeah, and everybody always does. And I had a conversation with a client about that yesterday. Is when you get to an end of a thing, it's can we keep the group going?
No, is the answer to that one. But I can only help people if they join, Judith. And
I understand. Yep.
They have joined, and it's brilliant. I'm feeling very happy about it.
But you are keeping the group going for the people. What I'm saying is, you are effective. No, listen to me. Yeah. You are effectively keeping that thing going in another format for those who join. Yeah, yes, that's what I meant. Yeah.
In my Own It the Race course environment, which we're going to talk more about in the focus of the week.
Well, we're going to be obliged to be, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So what about your week then?
Well, I've got 3 things to tell you in this section, actually, and 2 of them only came to me this morning after I'd already made the notes for the show. One is that I have a client who PM'd me this morning. She lives overseas. I'm not going to tell you her name or where she lives because she's a very private person. But she's traveling in Europe at the moment. She's been working in London and she's been to visit her family and now she's on holiday and she's having a lovely time. And she told me in this PM, all the lovely things that she was doing, and which is lovely actually to talk to a client about, leisure pursuits, not just work, business. So I love it when my clients have lives. And the point of her message was to say that she's all caught up with our podcasts, specifically the one where we talk about the Women's Equality Party, because her friend Karen, who lives in London, was one of the founders.
Oh, how exciting.
I know, and I've decided I'm going to join it as my birthday present to myself.
Well, I've had a look at the website, and I like the look of it.
They have a centenary membership for 2018 because 2018 is the 100th anniversary of women getting the vote.
Oh, okay. So what's the annual fees to join? Then?
Well, if you go there, there's a pay what you want option. X pounds a month, Y pounds a month, Z pounds a month. Yeah, it's really, and actually you can donate without even joining, which is how complex people are when it comes to politics. So you can support it without becoming a member of a political party, if that makes sense.
Well, I think it's the first political party I've ever heard of that I actually want to join.
Well, quite. I'm going to join it. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. All very well you and I talk about everything. I thought, well, I actually think I'm going to buy that for myself for my present tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, yes, tomorrow.
I know. Exciting.
Yes.
I know.
What have you got planned? Anything nice?
Yes, I'm going to have lunch in the pub with Penny, my right-hand woman from my accounting business. It's our second meeting up. I don't think she'll remember it's my birthday, although frankly she should, because she worked for me from 83 till 96. How long's that? 13 years. But I don't think she will. She's got a lot going on in her life right now. But I'm going to the pub. I'm going to have clean sheets. I'm going to buy myself membership of the Women's Equality Party. Well, Friday's a great day for a birthday. Let me tell you something interesting about Fridays. You'll read this in my newsletter tomorrow, but I'll tell you today because it's quite exciting. And this is, you would need to be an accountant to fully appreciate that. But surely the best day of the week to have a birthday is a Friday, because then you've got you can have Friday off and you've got a 3-day birthday, haven't you?
Yeah.
But because of the way leap years work, you don't get one every 7 years. You don't get a Friday birthday every 7 years. So tomorrow, 2018, I shall be 63. My next Friday birthday is in 2029 when I'll be 74. So I have to wait 11 years for Friday to come back again.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then I projected it forward. Of course I did. 2035, I shall be 80. 2040, 85. 2046, 91. And 2057, 102. And I stopped there at 102 because I thought I'd be perfectly happy with that as my score.
It's a good innings.
It is a very good innings, yes.
I've got to just tell you something. I've got, to my surprise, I've got quite a lot of more elderly friends than I anticipated.
Yes.
Two of my favourites are Hal and Linda, and they met only 7 years ago on Match.com in America. And he is 80. I went to his 80th birthday party last year, which was the most stunning location. They've just got back from a trip to Crete because Hal is obsessed with ancient Greek literature. Lovely. And stuff like that. So they just went to Crete. Yep. An amazing time. They loved Crete. They did so many fun things. Like Hal doesn't walk very well, but they walked down to. They were staying in Hania, which is where Michelle Doyle lives. But
also it's lovely, Hania. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, they stayed in a hotel up the hill and they walked down the hill very, very slowly. And, of course, Linda's thinking, how on earth are we going to get back up the hill?
Yes.
They got down the bottom to find these really sweet pony and trap fairs that Linda said she wouldn't have got into in a million years normally, but she knew Hal would never make it back up the hill. So she got over her fears and they got in. And so they had a lovely time. And then there are pictures to prove it, right? Hal went paragliding.
Oh, bless.
He said, I said, what did that involve, Hal? He said, they strapped me into this tricycle affair and they ran me along the beach and then the parachute opened and I went high in the sky. And there are pictures to prove it. And I was like,
yeah.
I said, oh my God, Hal, what on earth possessed you? He said, I don't know. He said, I just felt a bit reckless.
Well, that's my friend Nicola did when we were in Turkey. But she did, I don't know, a parascending where she jumped off the top of a Turkish mountain strapped to a foreigner that they didn't have a common language.
I know.
But anyway, let me tell you, how brave of Hal to walk down a hill with no idea how he was going to get back up it. And Linda prepared to go back up it in a way that she would not normally have considered.
I know, they are a game pair. They really are.
They are a game pair, yeah.
And I'll share the pictures of Hal floating high in the sky.
Lovely. Anyway, I've only told you about one of my three things in this first section. Did you see that Lisa Warner's husband, Glenn, has started his own YouTube channel and published his first vid?
I did. I watched their video in the middle of the night, and I've already commented, and I'm tracking.
Have you caught up with his first one?
No, not yet.
Oh, he started his own YouTube channel and he launched his own first video. That's my news item here. Glenn's got his own channel.
I know it's called Life in the Slow Lane.
No, well, it might be, but this morning when I looked at it, it was called Glenn Warner. But anyway, the point is he's done his first vid.
Well, I'm so delighted because I would love to see more DIY on the boat.
Well, we are going to see more DIY on the boat. When I was growing up, slightly before your time, there was a man called Barry Bucknell who did black and white DIY programs on the television. We used to think they were the deadliest telly known to man, but Glenn talking philosophical thoughts while banging nails into his boat would be quite appealing, wouldn't it?
I imagine there won't be much talking. He's a man of few words.
He is a man of few words. I think that's probably what we like about him, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah,
he did say something very funny at the beginning. My wife, Mrs. Warner, if you haven't met Mrs. Warner, you should. She's a force to be reckoned with, or something like that, he said, which is quite right. Now, my third one, let me tell you my third one, which was the only one I had prepared to tell you in this section until I woke up this morning. But, for several weeks, I've been a little bit below par health-wise and less cheerful than normal, as you know, because I've been in this slightly chilly place. Yes. And last Friday, I booked myself into the local holistic beautician, Helen. And when I walked into her overheated surgery room, I went, oh my God, I didn't even know it was possible to be hot in this town. So last Friday was the first time I'd actually been hot here, too hot. It's like, when you layer your tops these days, yeah. You don't now, you can take a layer off because you're officially in summer. But I thought I really don't need these 2 layers today. Anyway, the point about Holistic Helen is, I've been a little bit poorly. I've had a lot of sort of low-level symptoms which drag you down, and she's fixed most of them. Well, it's either her. It's a combination of Holistic Helen and kefir, if you know what that is, and massive doses of vitamin C. I feel like a relatively new woman. But the story I wanted to tell you was that my friend had told me that you could park with impunity in this town because nobody's ever seen a traffic warden. So I'm halfway through this session with Helen and I go, oh, my friend says it's all right to park outside for an hour and a half, that I'm going to be in here with you because there's no such thing as a parking warden in this town. She goes, I saw him yesterday. But can you imagine living in a town where nobody, the sighting of a traffic warden is a rarity? Well, and everybody just parks for free wherever they like all of the time.
In Shoreham, there was only traffic wardens on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Well, quite, yeah. So you could park with impunity on Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Yeah, lovely. Yeah. Anyway, so it's just a sort of funny, freaky. Life is strange, isn't it? In the things that I took for granted in London do not pertain in this little country town.
It's a whole different ball game, yes.
Yes, indeed. Anyway, I've been hot. I found Holistic Helen and vast doses of vitamin C and kefir. I feel like a new woman, Nicola. Actually.
Well, that's amazing. Kefir is a yogurty drink.
It is. It's a probiotic, if you know what that means.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I don't have a sister who's into this stuff for nothing.
Oh, indeed. Yes. Yeah. Mine, of course, comes from Waitrose. I don't make it myself at home, but you could if you're into. Once you've got the culture going, you just, you put more yogurty milk in on top, and it grows itself. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I trust the Waitrose version more than my own homegrown version.
Well, quite. Yeah.
So what's fueled your fire this week then?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I could hand you if you like.
Yeah.
I got a lovely email yesterday from Kate Cocker, sound
I do.
Presenter coach.
Blogfester number 52, as we call her around here.
Oh, right. Okay. Did she get it in on the deadline?
She did.
Well, there you go. She said to me, I have been plucking up my courage to speak to get in contact with the commercial editor, which I think is the top man at a very big radio station indeed. And I've been putting it off because I've been feeling a little bit trepidatious. She said, when I finally got the courage up to do it yesterday, she said, I just emailed him and said, I've got couple of things I'd like to talk to you about. We met briefly, blah, and I wonder if I could make a time to come in and see you. And he immediately replied within 30 minutes and said, oh, yes, I was only just watching your little video about pacing the other day. It was really very good on Facebook. Great. Would you like to book yourself in as soon as you'd like? I'll tell my VA to make my diary available. And she said, I just wanted to thank you because even though, you're not always making sales, the fact that she said, I feel like I'm always in the room. And it's the boardroom too.
Yeah.
Which is nice. And she said that's entirely nice. Because of the activity.
Can I just say something nice about her, though, which came through loud and clear in her blog post that she wrote for me? She's a total pro. So, even if you are everywhere online, you can't get in the boardroom if your content's rubbish. Her content is not rubbish. It's thoroughly professional.
Yes, it does, and it really demonstrates her expertise.
She knows her stuff. Yeah,
it does. Yeah. So that cheered me up enormously, as well as all my. I was sitting in a taverna last night, and I got a couple of, there's lovely emails that come through and say you've got a new member. Lovely.
Yes, ka-ching.
Yeah.
What
about you?
Similar, actually. Somebody asked me last Thursday, could they book a pay what you want consultation about their life, not about their business. And which is lovely. I'd love to do more of that, as you know. And I said, oh yes, delighted. Book yourself in. Booked herself in on Saturday. She said she told me in advance what she wanted to pay me, which is the higher end of what I've been paid recently, even more than the man I'm going to tell you about in a minute. We did good work together. We went on a bit, to be honest, but it needed it. And she'd paid very well for it in advance. We did work. Change was effective. She wrote me a 5-star review for my Facebook page. And she emailed on the Monday morning to say changes had already happened as a result of the things that we'd agreed on Saturday for all the better, and she was feeling great. And then she sent me a photograph of herself yesterday holding a copy of my book, which I do love. Yeah. I went to Amazon.com because I've signed up for a small promotion for my book in American channels, and I discovered a 5th review that I hadn't seen before from somebody who I don't know, but who gets my weekly newsletter. So that was nice because it sort of tied the two in together. So somebody I didn't know, but who knew me, bought the book as a result of being on my list, and then went to Amazon and left a nice review. And my celebrity client came storming back this week, booked 3 pay what you want, and we did one on Monday afternoon. He paid handsomely again. And we did a long session on Monday afternoon. So 3 sort of, when you're really in the mood and you're attracting the right clients and it's going really well and you're enjoying the sessions and they're paying you well and they're leaving you nice reviews and they're saying thank you. I mean, does it get any better than that?
No, not really.
No.
Do you check Amazon Australia just out of interest?
I think I'm on all the Amazons.
Yeah, but have you checked it for reviews?
No, I haven't.
Well, worth a look.
Oh, okay. Will do.
In Australia.
Will do.
With your straight talking manner.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so today, focus of the week. I wanted to talk about mental models. Now, as someone who grew up with someone who didn't have an awful lot of common sense, and I didn't grow up with many mental models, I imagine you grew up with quite a few. But
not really, no, because I'll tell you what, both my brother and I are much smarter than my parents. Our parents were not academic and they were not brainy.
Right. And this is how it started. I was following a article on Medium about becoming smarter, and I'm very interested in mental models as a vehicle for that, because they help me enormously to corral my chaotic thinking into things that might help me. And I've drawn up a list of examples, one of which is the law of attraction. Obviously, we've talked about that a bit. That is a mental model. The fact that you're believing that whatever you think about today will manifest itself some way down the line, 3 to 4 months, I think. It really does give you something to work on, and how to keep your thoughts in control, how to keep positive, how to work out that you're not going to manifest bad things into your life by ruminating on what's going wrong and being a victim and not all that stuff. Another mental model that I really like is Gary Vee's nobody gives a insert swear word there, because it really is a very useful mental model. It stops you complaining, because if he says, as he says quite amusingly, the only person who's going to listen to you is your mother, and she's not going to be able to do anything about it for you. So you've got to just pick yourself up and carry on, and remember that if it's to be, it's up to you. That's another one. If it's to be, it's up to me. That's a mental model that is a useful tool for you to upgrade your thinking. Another one I like is the 80-20 rule, the fact that, you're supposedly the Pareto principle. You're going to get 80% of your results from 20% of your actions. So it behooves you to occasionally go through the list of things you do and work out which ones are working and bringing in the biggest results. So I like that one a lot. There is this is the one I was actually just trying to research it when my landlord came to tell me about my superfast broadband. The thing that I learned from Rich Sheffrin about the weakest link. If you've got a chain of events in your business and you want to work out where to improve things, Don't start by looking at the things that are working. Start by, which is a direct opposite to the Pareto principle, start by looking at where the problems are and focus on the weakest link in the chain. And if you fix that, it's going to have the biggest impact in your business or your life or anything, in fact. Oh, God, what's the name of the bloke? Kaizen. It's the Kaizen theory. That's another mental model. It's not the Kaizen theory at all, but that is another mental model, which is where you make small, continuous, incremental improvements. That's the thing. If you improve 10 things by 10%, you don't improve them by 100%, you improve them by 1,000%. The thing I'm thinking of is, it will come back to me as we talk, I'm sure. And finally, some other things. James Schramko has got a really nice decision-making matrix in his book, Work Less, Make More. And it was the first time I'd ever seen that. It's similar to the Stephen Covey thing of, is it important, urgent, not important? You know, the thing where you work out in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. There's quite a lot of nice mental models in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, I think. Make decisions as if you were on your deathbed. That's another one, because it means that you make a decision that you're going to be able to live with for the rest of your life rather than a short-term decision. I can't remember exactly. I've actually got his book, but it didn't download into my Kindle for some reason, so I was scrambling around trying to find it. But it's about halfway through the book, and it's a bit of a nice model where you can put in the question you want to make good decisions. You know, you want to make good decisions. It tells you how to put in different aspects of the decision you want to make and grade it so that you come out with a weighted decision based on the elements that you've put in and the weight you've given them. And I just love all this stuff. I love the fact that you can learn things that are simple and applicable immediately, that make you, they don't necessarily make you smarter, but they make you better able to think and make good decisions. Thoughts?
Yes. I think it's fascinating that in the long list you've given us, several of them are contradictory.
Yes.
So what that makes me realise is, it doesn't really matter which one of these you choose, as long as you find one that works for you. So don't become knowledgeable in mental models unless you're a teacher of mental models. But certainly explore a few, find one that works for you and implement it. That's what I'm thinking. Even if it's contradictory to something else and somebody else, your next door neighbour is operating the other one, if that one works for them and yours works for you, it seems to me it's almost like, you know, a thing. You talked interestingly about, when you talked about the law of attraction, I thought, oh, I'm going to like this. I didn't think I was going to like this one today. But what you talked about there was beliefs we choose. And you said 3 to 4 months. I know some people that can do it today, and mine takes much longer. And I usually think it's because I've picked big ones that don't necessarily manifest overnight. But the point is, we chose them. And the law of attraction enables you to see that, I think. I don't believe in any of these ones about if it's to be, it's up to me. I think they're just far too blokey. But I love the idea that they're these ones that contradict. What I've starred at the bottom of here is when you started to talk about deathbed decisions, because I think the ability to make a decision and fast or slow is one of the ones I'm most proud of, because it's most useful. Dilly-dallying around unable to make a decision is just death to business and life, really.
And momentum. You never get any momentum going.
No, let's make a decision. Let's crack on. Now, there's an exception to that. And something else you said is important in that area as well. Yes. So when clients come and we have to make a decision, and we do this, my mental model then is, what do you think and what do you feel and which one are you going to go with? Sometimes there's no answer. So, for instance, the lady I'm staying with at the moment said to me, she'd had a call. Her godmother is like her mother and lives 5 hours away and is old and poorly and a little bit confused and has plenty of local support and help, but has to go into hospital for a scan next week, which means that she's not allowed any caffeine in the preceding 24 hours, and the care that she has locally is not 24-hour based. So my friend said, would I be a total expletive if I didn't go and support her through that? And so we talked through it. You know, my friend has recently had some therapy, so she would never ever have hesitated to do anything except rush to this woman's side in the old pre-therapy her. Now she understands how to manage her own needs. She's not as old as me. She's not even as old as you. She's about 50. But even at 50, you start to think, to take a 5-hour drive across the country, stay the night on an uncomfortable bed, do the right thing by my godmother, who's been marvellous by me, then drive back for 5 hours in the middle of a busy week is quite burdensome. So you start to think, are there people locally that I can pay who I would trust as much as myself to support my beloved godmother going through this thing, or do I need to be there? And the point is, we didn't know the answer to that. So we debated the easy things. And I said, why don't you set up all the infrastructure as if, what's it going to cost you if we extend the care for another couple of hours to support her going to the appointment? 40 quid, right? Book that. Even if you don't pay it, it's cheaper than you driving. You don't use it. It's cheaper than you driving there. And it's emotionally cheaper than you driving there. Then you can take until Sunday night to make up your mind. You can sit with it, you can sleep on it, and then the answer will come to you. So the point is, we can't always make a decision today if it's complex and riddled with guilt and emotion and nice girlness and logistics. All of it's too much to process all at once. So you've got to have some kind of mechanism, which is, let's debate the pros, the cons, the logic. Now, how are you feeling about it? So it's logical things we can do, plans and preparation we can make. And the thing that will cause her to go or not in the end is if she can reconcile herself to the sense of self, the feeling of being the woman she wants to be in support of this woman who's been marvellous to her in her life, or not on this occasion. Can you trust the local people to be nearly as good as if you were there, given that your auntie's a bit confused and won't know you're with her anyway? So it's a long, rambly story, but the point is, it's quite hard to make some decisions, and you can't make them all instantly. But you've got to have a mechanism for it, which is, part logic, which is head, part feeling, heart.
Yeah. There's quite a lot of that kind of decision chat that goes on out here, because quite a lot of people are dealing with with dementia and Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
I mean, Steph had a real laugh the other day. She took her mum out for lunch somewhere quite posh, and they had a lovely lunch, and everything right through to pudding and coffee and everything. And her mum writes down the things that she's just done so that she can look back in this notebook.
Yes.
And her carers can look back.
Marvellous.
Anyway, she was having such a lovely time, snaffling all the goodies, that she didn't write anything in her notebook. And Steph got back to the care home with her, and they walked in, and somebody said, "Oh, have you had a lovely time?" She said, "Oh yes, we've just been for coffee in Tesco's." The most expensive Tesco's. But because this woman had not written it in her notebook, so Steph had to grab the notebook and said, "Mum has had a 4-course lunch with."
Yes. Does Mum live out there with Steph all the time, or just some of the time?
No, she's back in England, and there's 3 siblings that take it in turns to go and make sure she's looked after, because sadly you cannot rely. She's in a really good care home, but they found out that one of the care assistants had been shouting at her because she kept asking what time it was. And Steph was really, the manager was really upset as well, because it meant that they had training.
Well, it's difficult because I listened to a daily conversation between my friend and her godmother, who can't retain anything. So it goes round and round and round and round and round and round and round, and it's repetitive and unsettling, basically. And you're far away. If the person was around the corner, it'd be a different thing. But if you're far away, anyway, the point about this story is, do you have a mechanism for making decisions? Does it work for making difficult decisions? How do you let yourself off the hook? It's interesting, given that I've written down here chosen beliefs. The thing that you believe about yourself, which I think is less and less true than ever before, and I think you could start to drop thinking of yourself like this. You said right at the beginning, I like these because I'm a person who has chaotic thinking.
Yes.
I don't think you are so much anymore.
Well, I've never found making emotional decisions where, I've always been at the mercy of my emotions, and I'm definitely getting better at that.
Yeah, but then I don't think it's chaotic thinking. Emotions are chaotic. Emotions are messy. I don't think you're a chaotic thinker. Honestly, I don't anymore.
I've made so many of my business decisions and life decisions based on the prevailing emotion at the time, and I've been at the mercy of them.
Yeah,
because they were so strong. And I do feel I'm getting much, much better at that now, mainly because I've got the stimulus around that used.
Well, I think one of the reasons why is because actually in this conversation I had with my friend, we didn't have to make a decision until Sunday, and we started discussing this on, I think, perhaps Monday or Tuesday. So there was plenty of time, and actually there probably was, in all the emotional decisions you feel you've taken in your past, probably longer than maybe you didn't want to sit with the emotions and made it faster than you need to, or something.
On it there, it was too uncomfortable to sit with the emotions.
Yeah.
to make a snap decision, and
yes,
and often live to rue the day.
Well, I agree, and one of my therapists taught me that as well. I had two therapists, one who wasn't very good and one who was excellent. And the excellent therapist taught me that the whole value of I always used to, when it was painful, rush to a decision, then we could move on. She said, no, you've got to feel the feelings because they're bringing you intel. You've got to feel them, you've got to honour them, you've got to process them, and then you move on, and eventually you leave some of them behind.
Yes, well, that's one of the big things that the grieving process has taught me.
Yeah,
is that there was no escape from those feelings, and they were going on and on. So I got used to living with uncomfortable feelings, which I'd never done before.
No, did you see that very nice video this week that explains how that works with grief?
About fried eggs?
No, it was a Cruise video. Cruise, is the bereavement charity, and it shows you that actually the feelings. She did a diagram. I think you'll like it. That shows you, sort of a wiggly line and then a cross wiggly line. So the feelings of grief are a wiggly line, and she said I don't think they ever go away. But what happens is you expand around them.
Yeah, that's the fried egg theory. That's
okay. I didn't know it was called fried egg. I didn't see any mention of eggs in it, but I thought it was very nice and quite right, actually.
And then there was a link through to a guy called G. Snow on Reddit who wrote a very beautiful piece. He's quite an older gentleman, and he wrote a very beautiful piece about grief being like a shipwreck, being in a shipwreck. And it's really well worth reading if you're I went on and I read the comments as well, and it was absolutely so moving how much people. I mean, I felt quite lucky having just been grieving one person. There were people there who'd lost their parents, and then a child. Yeah, people lost two children. It's horrendous. Yeah. And I felt really, really lucky, which was really weird.
Well, Steve's mother lost two children.
Yes, I know. That's awful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is awful.
But again, that's a mental model, isn't it? If you can look at something like, the fried egg theory or the shipwreck theory and make sense of what you're feeling, it helps in some way. So I think mental models are useful for all sorts of things. And
yes, surprisingly so. Yeah. It's more. I mean, in a way, it's like having something that works for you that you can hold on to, especially when it gets choppy, stormy and difficult. But I think they're probably even more useful in that situation, aren't they?
Yeah, but I love the Rich Sheffrin was a genius at this. I used to acquire mental models and share them all the time. And one of the nicest things that I did ever learn from him was the whole thing about put up on a wall or a window. Window's really good with Post-it notes. So you put up your ultimate goal at the top, and then you'd list all your obstacles that are standing in your way on one colour Post-it note, so say green or whatever, down the left-hand side, and then you'd write the opposite statement so the obstacle was now no longer there, and you'd solved it, and you'd write the positive statement that arose from that on a different colour Post-it note, and you put it next to the obstacle, and then you'd go down and you'd get rid of all the obstacles, and you'd just be left with the positive statements, which was your plan, and then you'd look at each of the positive statements and you'd write the obstacles to each one, and then you'd write the opposite statement to the sub-obstacles, and you'd end up with a plan that had big milestones in it, and then it had lots of little milestones in it, and you threw away all the obstacles, you ended up with just the positive things, and it was the most genius way of brainstorming how to get past obstacles that are stopping you to achieving your final goal. And I did it with the kids and Sarah once. It was so useful, really, really good. In fact, I made a video somewhere. I think I'll have to dig it out and put it in the show notes, because it's on YouTube, about how to actually do that with the Post-it notes, and it works a treat.
And I'm remembering that my Blogfesta number 49, a woman called Louise Taylor, has also, in her blog post, she describes having invented some kind of decision-making system too.
Eli Goldratt. That's the chap whose name I was working for.
Okay. The fact is, there's no shortage of these.
No.
So our job is not to discover all of the ones in the world before we make a decision. It's just to find a good one that works and rely on it. Use it.
It's a good procrastination tool, wouldn't it?
It would be. Yes.
Through all your mental models.
Yeah. Yeah. That was his. The one you just described, that was his.
Yeah, it was one of his, yes. It was, or it was the way Rich interpreted it for, how you can use.
Yeah. I don't see life in obstacles. That wouldn't be great for me, that one. I just see, let's just crack on.
Yeah, but sometimes you work with people and they haven't got a clue.
Oh, I definitely think of clients who work like that. Absolutely.
Yeah. They haven't got it. So you've got a goal. Why haven't you achieved it yet? And the reason you haven't achieved it yet is because there are nebulous obstacles in your head that you haven't even got out of your head. And the reason this Post-it note exercise is so good is it gets everything out of your head, and then you turn it into the opposite and positive statement, and then you throw away the obstacles and you're left with a positive plan.
Yeah, because I get to talk to all of mine. We drill down into that and find out what it is. I don't want to be more successful than my parents or husband, or tall poppy syndrome, or that one we had from that event that we went to. I couldn't cope with all the emails if I was a multimillionaire.
Oh, yes.
There's always some bonkers belief at the bottom of this, isn't it?
Yeah, that one does keep recurring.
It's a cracker, that's why, isn't it?
It is. Okay, so is that us done on mental models, do you think?
I think it is, yes. It's a dull title, but it's a fascinating concept.
Word of the week, then.
Yeah, I'm going to go for wisdom because I found a gorgeous old blog post that I'd written on the topic and repurposed it as a Facebook note.
Very good. Well, I'm going to go for smart. So there you go. Because I'm always on the lookout for how to become more smart and less, what's the word I'm looking for? Waffly.
Stupid. Sorry, what's the opposite of smart?
No, I've never been stupid.
No, the opposite of smart is not waffly, though, is it?
No, I've never had the right mental models to make me smarter.
Well, you have, but you're fascinated by studying them.
Yes, that's true. Oh, right. Okay, project updates then.
Yeah, you go first.
Well, I've got a brand new website.
Oh, my word.
I know. And
which one is it? Let me have a look. Which one is it?
It's clicksandleadsacademy.com.
Okay.
Because I decided I needed a proper sales page.
Oh, yes, you said that
as I had the URL, I might as well put it on the proper URL.
Okay.
So I can direct people there. And Sarah's put it together for me. I'm not 100% sure about the icons, the olive-orientated icons. They're a little bit folksy for me. But I think I'm going to go with them until I can find something else.
Okay.
But it's just basically a sales page for Clicks and Leads Academy.
Yes, I've got it. Is that the thing you're excited about, or have you got more to tell me?
Well, the other thing is, one second, caller, I've restarted Facebook ads. I won't say any more than that.
No, indeed.
But yeah, I'm advertising. You'll like this. I'm advertising my books, and Facebook love you to advertise books. Apparently, they will send you traffic all day long for not very much money at all, because it's a physical product where you're expecting people to buy something. Okay. And I'm sending them to a page where all 5 of my books are, and 2 of them have got links to download the ebook version for free. So I'm achieving the same goals, but in a more roundabout way.
Okay.
In a way that Facebook likes.
Okay, let me just write this down. New website and restarted Facebook accounts. Lovely ads.
Yes.
Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
Marvellous.
I'll look. While you're telling me yours, I'll look up the podcast.
Well, I need you to pay attention in mine because it's rather good.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead.
I've made my first sale through Amazon's expanded distribution. Do you know what that is?
No, I don't.
Well, when I uploaded my book to Amazon via CreateSpace, it offered me all these marketing channels. Print, yes. Kindle, yes. Something else, and expanded distribution. And there was one I didn't go for. I can't remember what it was, but I went for expanded distribution. And it says, expanded distribution offers the potential to distribute your book to more of your customers through more channels, including retailers. Pay attention because this is the important bit. Retailers, bookstores, libraries, academic institutions, resellers, wholesalers, and distributors, i.e. not a human being buying a book. There's a much lower profit share, but the potential, of course, is a much larger audience. So I find that quite exciting. What it means is that somebody somewhere in either a library or a bookshop has ordered one copy of my book to see if it works in their situation. And, of course, if it does, that's mahoosive, isn't it?
Yeah, when you say you see if it works in their situation.
Well, somebody in a library or a bookshop has ordered one copy. Now, a human being hasn't gone into a bookshop and said, or a library and said, can you get me Judith's book? Because they can buy that, online. So somebody who's responsible for stocking a library or a bookshop is ordered a copy to see if it's something they want to stock in their library or bookshop.
Oh, okay.
I know, it's exciting, isn't it?
Well, it is if it's a bookshop, because they'll order more than one.
Well, I mean, and the library could be a chain of libraries, and a bookshop could be a chain of bookshops.
Do people still go to libraries?
Yes. Poor people go to libraries. Actually, more than poor people. People who want free Wi-Fi, people who want to read the newspapers, people who want somewhere quiet to go, people work in libraries. I mean, a library is if there's still a library where you live in the UK, it's a sexy thing.
Yeah, no, there isn't one in Shoreham.
Yeah.
I used to spend a lot of time in libraries until the internet came along.
Quite. Anyway, this is the point of this story is it's in America. So it could be a one-off bookshop or a one-off library or a national chain of both. I know. And now that it's happened once, of course, it'll happen again and again and again, and eventually one of those will go big, won't it?
Yeah, it will. It will. A bit like our podcast, which is running at double the downloads that it used to before we put it on.
Do you think that's Radio Public?
I do. I honestly think that's the only reason.
Do you know what's so brilliant about that? Not only are we reaching more than twice as many listeners, but we're being paid for it.
Well, we're only being paid for it if they listen more than halfway through on the app.
I know, but that's okay.
Just to, manage your expectations.
That's okay. I know, but the point is, it's such an abundant business model because it's worked for us twice over.
It is.
I don't care if they only give us $3 a month. It's the principle.
Yeah. I mean, look, we've gone from 1,700, 1,500 to nearly 5,000 downloads a month.
Yeah, great.
So we've more than doubled our downloads.
It's making a difference.
Yeah, we've tripled our download number.
Well, I mean, that could totally re-inspire me, Nicola.
I know. Well, good. You sound pretty inspired today, generally. I'm
double caffeined, that's all.
Oh, God.
When I've had a shower and a double caffeine, I could kill the world, frankly, murder the world. I'm on it.
Dragon Slayer, you.
Yes, exactly, yes.
Good. Okay, so anything else on project updates?
No, I'm just excited about my one American expanded distribution potential thing.
I've ticked that box.
But actually, it's not as exciting as our Libsyn download numbers, our Radio Public download numbers. That is amazing.
I know, and apparently the more you send people to Radio Public, as we are doing through our domain name, the more they reward you.
Virtuous circle. Squidger listeners, we love you for going to Radio Public and listening, and Radio Public, we love you for sending more listeners in our direction. It's all just win.
It is a win.
Yeah. And it's a win-win-win for the people like lovely Richard who emailed in to say, no, I heard you talking about not doing it anymore. No, like that. Well, at least now that we've got big, meaningful numbers, Richard, no risk, darling. Yes. All we wanted was an audience. Oh, look at that, Nicola.
I know, that's weekly.
She just changed the view, listener, and I'm looking at what looks like, well, it's gone from the plains to the mountains.
It's peaking big time, yeah.
Yeah, peaking big time, like me.
1778.
Darling, it's peaking big time like me.
Yeah, no, it is. I've 3 years. I've longed for the hockey stick.
I know you have. That's more than a hockey stick. That's a couple of great mountains. Excuse my French, isn't it?
Don't make me have to beep you.
No, okay. I didn't actually say it. I didn't say it.
Who or what's impressed this week then?
Well, I'm going trivial now.
Okay.
Do you remember I introduced you to Harry Bosch? I'm not sure if you actually got around to reading any of the novels, Michael Connolly's Harry Bosch series.
I definitely put it on my watch list.
Yeah, well, we're up to series 4 on Amazon Prime, which I spent all last week hoovering up and loved it. But let me tell you this. They're doing something which initially I thought was quite annoying. Well, actually, 2 things I thought were quite annoying. They're not doing the books in the order they were written. Annoying. Yeah. And they're mashing them up together. Annoying. But by the time they got to season 4, it wasn't annoying. All it means is that something that was dealt with in the book in one book is a recurring theme through the telly programs. Anyway, season 4 was the best one they've done yet. I really loved it. I mean, I love it anyway, but it's the best one. And there is nothing like a weekend where you think, I'll just watch an episode of Bosch, and then you find yourself 3 hours later, I'll just go for a last wee and watch another episode. And that kind of addiction to burn through the series. But anyway, the point of this story is number 4 was my favourite book, Angel's Flight, which is a sort of push-me-pull-you funicular railway in LA, which when I went on holiday there, I had to go and visit because I loved the book so much.
After you mentioned The Good Fight, which I'd never heard of, I spent, not last weekend, but the weekend before, watching 2 series or something.
Well, did you watch The Good Wife before that? Because otherwise you don't have... Yes. The Good Fight's good, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it more than The Good
And do you know why? Because it's female-centric.
Yes, it is, and they're all strong characters.
Yeah, they are.
And they don't have that annoying love interest going on, which it really used to
no.
me up. But,
quite. Because if you string out a love interest over 7 series, it stretches credulity, doesn't it?
Yeah, they come and go, and it's just ridiculous. So, and I loved it. I loved it, and I binge watched it last weekend. And I did actually look up the whole thing about it's basically it releases serotonins in your brain, or endorphins or whatever it is, and when you know there's the pleasure of being able to indulge your next episode immediately, it releases more endorphins.
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic model that even things like iPlayer have copied now. So you get to the end of something and the thing goes round in a circle, and you're going to, if you don't take some action, you're going to watch the next episode.
then you have to wake up and pause the television.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
Yeah. Anyway, Harry Bosch 4, Amazon Prime. You tell me yours.
All right. I've got 2. I've got... when I was working with Neil in Raw Local, and then you introduced me to Matt Duggan. I got to know Matt Duggan. I taught Matt Duggan how to do Facebook ads. He came to be our Facebook Raw Local, and he did a very good job. And I realised swiftly that he was better than me at it because he just got a brain that's wired differently. And when I left Raw Local, he took over as the UK arm of it. And they've just rebranded everything from Raw Local to Clickstart Media, I think. They've been very gracious in crediting me as the co-founder originally, and they've got a lovely picture of me when we all went to Brisbane. So when you go to the About page, it talks about, me and Neil being the co-founders. It's got a great picture of the 3 of us in Brisbane. They've handled it really, really nicely. And
abundantly.
I do send Matt clients sometimes because, if it's a client that it's too big for me, or it's too e-commerce-y, I don't really want to do it. And I think that's a really nice way to go about things.
Well, before you go on, I'd like to tell you my own Matt Duggan story from the last week.
All right.
A client of mine who is very disillusioned with how many people want to sell her, information, and you know what I mean? The whole model of how many people want to sell you the way to do it, the shortcut way to 6 figures. And she's tried and tried and tried, and she was quite tearful in this conversation about it not working, and nobody will tell me what to do. And then she said, what do you think about Matt Duggan? And I said, I think he's the only good guy you've ever asked me about.
Yeah. He's lovely.
So I said, go off and have a chat with him and mention my name because, I know that there's a little bit of credit in the bank account under my name at Matt Duggan's house. Yeah. And met him for the first, I know him, but I only met him once, and that was at Steve's funeral, if you remember. He was the only other living soul to come to Steve's funeral that we knew in our online world.
Yeah, that Steve had worked
demonstrating that he's a totally good bloke. And actually, compared to the other people that she was talking about, who shall remain nameless, I could thoroughly endorse him as a good bloke in a field full of sharks.
Absolutely. He does fantastic Facebook Lives under his own brand, which is, oh my God, everything's going out of my head today. But he does, go and look him up, Matt Duggan. He's abundant, helpful Facebook Lives, and he's really good at it.
This is the Matt Duggan rave show.
It is. We'll have to tell him, won't we?
Yeah, we will. Yeah.
And finally, I read Russell Brand's book this week, Recovery, and it's all about freedom from addictions. And it's the most interesting book I've read. He weaves his own story in with stories of other addicts. He talks about addiction being right across the board, whether it's watching endless episodes of the Good Fight.
Yes, quite.
Right through to sex, drugs and rock and roll kind of addictions. And he weaves in the 12 steps of the 12-step program into the story, and he gives you some very useful questions to ask yourself at each stage. And I thought it was a really good book. It was a combination of a story with case studies and other people's stories and a how to fix. And there's a lot of swearing in it, so don't read it if you're easily offended. But it made me laugh on quite a few occasions. But it was touching, it was moving, it was informational, it was helpful. Thoroughly good book. Really recommend it.
I'm not a fan of Russell Brand, so I'm moving on swiftly.
Moving on swiftly to put the phone down.
Yes. I admire his recovery from addiction.
14 years, can't knock it.
In all other respects, I think he's a complete and utter total
Oh, there you go. Well,
I didn't say it. I admire his recovery from addiction, and I did see him once give evidence to some government committee, and I thought he was lucid and fantastic. He's a blow hot and cold type for me, which is I'm either all in with him or I don't want anything to do with him.
He's got a new podcast called Under the Skin, which I've got to end on a better note than that. So he's got his new podcast called Under the Skin, and he was interviewing some British
Yes, he gets under my skin in mostly not a good way.
Right. Well, he was interviewing this British scientist who's come up with this theory. I can't remember what it was called, but basically this chap had proved that dogs are telepathic.
Oh, bless.
So, another example of things we don't yet understand.
But talking about the dogs, you know that if somebody's at home with your dog and you and your other half are out to dinner, the minute you stand up from the table, having paid your bill in the restaurant, the dog knows you're coming home.
That's exactly what he was experimenting with, that kind of thing. And he did lots of proper scientific experiments, sending people home in different cars, sending people home with different people, sending them home at different times.
Yes.
And dogs always knew when they were on their way home.
Yeah, so when I had a lodger in the 90s, she used to say that my cat at the time knew that I was coming, would run to the front hall, sit on the desk there, look out of the window, and then my car would pull up.
Bizarre, isn't it?
I know.
Cats and dogs are telepathic then.
Well, I think we're all a bit more sentient than we know, and we just don't trust it because of the brain thing, funnily enough.
Yes, because of trying to force it all into mental models.
Yes, quite, yeah.
Now that's a better note to end on.
It is.
See you next week.
All right, bye for now. Bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.